And I see people that read that book and they take that advice to the nth degree. They go hire a bunch of people and then they're broke because their business didn't produce enough revenue to support all of these hires. Or there's an idea, it's like a fantasy. It's fantasy land. So for operators, like real operators, running businesses, the idea of creating a company that is not owner dependent, the idea of hiring people to do building the team, it's like, sounds nice on paper. It's really cool for a podcaster guru to talk about, but how does somebody actually do that?
Welcome to the Value Factory Podcast, brought to you by One Accord. We're all about helping businesses thrive and grow through leadership, strategy, and meaningful impact. Now, whether you're a seasoned executive or just starting out, our goal is to provide insights and inspiration to help you navigate your journey. Thanks for tuning in.
John, welcome.
Nick, welcome.
Welcome back to the Value Factory, my man. Good to have you in studio.
Yeah, I think the last few were online.
That's right. Topic of conversation today, if we just pick up where we were leaving off, the notion of how to optimize a business pre-exit or optimize a business, generally speaking. The conversation du jour is reducing owner dependence. You said some things like don't work below your pay grade, kind of these internet gurus out there telling people how to do stuff. That's all fine and good.
Yeah.
If you've got the resources, like reality has to settle in somewhere, right?
Yeah, you're right. Everyone is preaching owner dependency, and you see, I get things from buyers all the time. Hey, do you have any businesses and we want recurring revenue and clean financials and no owner dependency to speak of and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, there's dreamland, but in a small, mid-sized business.
Yeah.
But the owner dependency is real. And you're right. Pay grade, below pay grade, don't do day to day, delegate. Well, you better have people, a layer underneath you to do all that stuff.
Yep.
Or you said you're not going to give it to a admin clerk to do executive level functions.
So I liken this to the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Are you familiar with that one? So the idea is, hey, you're the CEO. You shouldn't be doing these, I don't know what language he uses, but low value tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Hire an executive assistant, hire somebody to do this for you, and you're buying back your time. And I see people that read that book and they take that advice to the nth degree. They go hire a bunch of people and then they're broke because their business didn't produce enough revenue to support all of these hires. Or there's an idea, it's like a fantasy. It's fantasy land. So for operators, like real operators, running businesses, the idea of creating a company that is not owner dependent, the idea of hiring people to do building the team, it's like, sounds nice on paper. It's really cool for a podcaster guru to talk about, but how does somebody actually do that?
Well, one thing is you do things one step at a time.
Yeah.
You don't just say, oh, I've hired these 5 executive assistant type people and they're going to do all this other stuff. And I'm going to just be the owner in absentia, at least mentally, if not physically. So I'll give you an example. We have a fairly new client. It's a manufacturing business. And I told the owner when we first met him, and I've told him since, he said, what do you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? And one of the things was I do bookkeeping. I said, you shouldn't be doing bookkeeping. And it is new accounting firm is the one who referred us in.
Mm-hmm.
And they have been doing some, and they are doing more, and they are going to do even more.
Yeah.
But there's the backup. it's not just like he's saying to a receptionist, do the bookkeeping.
Yeah.
And you don't know a debit from a credit.
Yes. Great point. Just hiring a body to fill a seat, not going to get you there.
Yeah.
So let me frame this in company size, revenue size, like growth. If I'm a $1 million a year business, what are the chances, percentage chances, 10%, 50% chance? What are the chances I'm going to have a business that is not dependent on me?
2%?
Yeah, I was going to say 0. You're generous at 2.
Well, there's every so often there is one.
Sure. So, okay. So $1 million business is actually a small business, according to some people, but for an individual person to do something that generates $1 million in sales, that's a very difficult thing to do, actually. Let's take it to $2.5 million. Percentage chances that a $2.5 million business could be free of owner dependence.
You double my 2 to 4.
Okay. Yeah. I think the chances do go up. I would have put that number 15%. Maybe 1 out of 8 $2.5 million businesses have the potential to have an absentee owner.
Potential.
But we're talking about a very narrow, specific type of business.
Yeah. Depends on the business.
Yep. If it's anything in the skilled trades, if you're doing HVAC, electrical, plumbing, a $2.5 million plumbing business is a great small business. But the owner is going to be doing a lot, if not everything, in the business.
Yeah. They may not be out on jobs anymore, but they know how to bid.
They're bidding,
et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. They're handling problems at that level. At $2.5 million, the owner of the business is also an attorney, a collections agent, a salesperson, an HR specialist, a therapist, a family marriage counselor, right? Like, that's a really difficult place to be. $5 million, doing $5 million in sales. What are our percent chances?
I still think it's pretty low.
Pretty low.
I mean, you said 1 out of 8 at 5. I don't even know if it's that high at 10. I can think of a couple I've seen over the years, and I can think of one deal, and the owner was he was 99% absentee. He had a manager and his daughter, but the thing was not firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And the expenses were out of control. Yeah. Et cetera. But sales weren't where they should be. And the buyer of the business, came in, and he didn't work. I would say he pretty much worked half to 2/3 time after he learned the business, but he knew, he put systems in and he reduced costs, and it's, went from there.
Yeah. So if we make a big jump then to 25 million in revenue, and let's just pick a number at 25 million in revenue, a business that is run well should have net income 5% to 30%.
Depends on the business. Yeah. I mean, if it's software, it's going to be pretty high.
Going to be pretty
successful software.
Right. Yep.
If it's labor intensive with cost of goods sold.
Yeah. But you're at 25 million in revenue. You got 5% EBITDA margin. You got a 5% net income margin. That gives you $1.2 million, $1.25 million in net profit that could be used to reinvest in the business, to then hire a full-time paid CEO to replace the owner founder. Now, the business is not going to make as much money. Maybe you have to pay that CEO $400,000, $600,000, depending on the role. Well, if that owner founder can step out of the job, you've got a CEO in there, paid CEO. And if that comes right off the bottom line, it may or may not change anyone's life significantly from a cash flow perspective, but it's going to change that owner founder's life. But I would contend it's also going to drive up the multiple, the economic value of that company.
It will. It definitely would make it more valuable based on the same earnings, but you're saying the earnings would be cut quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that owner going to do? Is that owner going to step up and be in charge of strategy and generating growth rather than day to day?
Mm-hmm.
Or is the owner going to go play golf and say, I'm not working for half the money I could have been getting?
Well, those get into big existential questions for the owner founder.
Yeah.
What do I do next? And I don't think that the math necessarily is just a 1-for-1. It doesn't wash. You don't just take it off the bottom line and hire the CEO and that's it. There's more to it than that. Thanks for walking with me through that, because the conversation, and I'm in it too. Like, I am as guilty as the next guy in saying that owner dependence is the number one lever that can be pulled to increase enterprise value, to solve all the problems of the world. That's the thing.
Except the 5 multiple at $1.25 million of earnings is a lot more than a 6 multiple of 600,000.
Correct. Yep. And so there's a conversation in there where if I am the owner operator, I'm the founder of the business, I probably have a salary, and then there's net income. And so there's a trade-off.
There is.
And it's never as simple as just buy back your time. Like Dan Martell said, he sold a lot of great books, or he sold a lot of books, and he's got a good, social media following on a good idea, but taken too far, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And then you run into the issue of there aren't that many owners who are going to let go like that. It's still their baby. But more importantly, their name is on everything.
Yep.
And if that CEO screws things up, who's the bank going to call? Not the CEO.
Yep. That's right. I think about owner dependence, and I want to broaden that to what is, key person risk. So not just the owner, where there's a concentration. Maybe it's your number one salesperson, and you got one gal that just crushes it in sales, and without her, the business is going to falter. Maybe there's somebody that is in a lead operations position, and the company hums operationally, runs like a Swiss watch. But without that person, things would fall apart. A key person risk is just as important as the owner dependency, I think. Like, they're almost equal. What do you think?
Well, they can be almost equal if there's a dependency on that key person, whether it's, like you said, sales or operations or product engineer, or even, a financial guru who's keeping you on track.
Yep.
Or if you're growing by acquisition, who's doing the acquisitions? Is it someone internally that has a knack for picking the right company to acquire next to fill a gap in, whether it's product, employees, geography?
That's interesting. I'm prepping to go down that road myself, to go on the hunt for acquisitions. We have, I've been here 2 years, and in our second year, we grew revenues year over year. We grew at a pace of 40%. This year, we're on track to grow 20%. And I just recognize that continued organic growth is going to wane. We will need to grow by acquisition. We're going to need to buy some other businesses.
Is that to get the people?
On some level, it's to buy the revenue. The kind of work that we do actually there's more supply than there is demand. There's more supply of qualified operators than there is demand. That is businesses who understand and want to have a fractional or interim operator come in. Hey, everybody. Nick Anderson, CEO of One Accord. Thank you for listening in to today's episode of The Value Factory. I hope that you're getting value from this episode. Now, listen, one of the primary ways that we support CEOs at One Accord is using Oasis, the One Accord system. It's our proprietary business operating system that's designed to shift your leadership team from reactive firefighting to focused execution. We provide the framework that will align your vision with your strategy, ensuring sustainable growth and clarity at every level of your organization. To learn how One Accord can support your company today, click the link in the show notes or our bio and get connected with one of our senior leaders. And now back to the show. So that's a central part of our work. So I need to buy the clients. I need to buy the revenue. Here's a consideration. One of our service lines is talent advisory, succession planning, and recruiting.
You mean get that next COO or next CEO?
Yeah,
in there.
Yeah, somebody has, they're gonna start a sales division. They want to hire a sales manager and 3 salespeople. Well, our talent advisory team would help recruit for the sales manager and help hire the salespeople. Yeah. I actually see recruiting as an area of growth, and I'd like to buy a recruiting firm. I'd like to buy a recruiting company. It's really interesting because you talk about in a grow by acquisition strategy, you need somebody in that corporate development role who does the corp dev. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be the one out sourcing prospective companies to buy, negotiating through those. Like I'll be a part of it. But I need somebody in that role that is experienced in that knows what they're doing. Because here's what it comes down to. This is where we started our conversation is I can't be the bottleneck. If everything has to go through me, I'm going to hit a capacity constraint. We're not going to
achieve probably there goals. Already.
I am actually. Yep.
But let's go back to, you said there's a bigger supply of fractional C-level people than demand for them.
Yeah.
And how many of those supply people can actually generate buyers for themselves? Because if we compare it to the fractional CFO world, CFOs in general can't generate business. And so they have the big umbrella company that puts them into CFO positions or controller positions.
Yeah.
And some of them just don't want to be with one company, like the variety or the pace, etc. How many of these supply side can generate clients out of the buyers?
Love the question. So if I speak hyperbolically, none of them can. It's not entirely true.
No.
But disproportionately high number of really qualified operators that don't have the arrows in their quiver, the tools, the skills, the connections to sell themselves and market themselves as an independent, single shingle, like I'm a guy that can go in and do a thing. Here's how this works. And I've seen it actually hundreds of times. Somebody has a great 20, 30, 40-year run in corporate America. They've been division level executive at some Fortune 100s, Fortune 1000s. They've run P&Ls. They've been excellent. They've done turnarounds. Like they have the resume, the CV that anybody would want to hire. But they don't want another W-2. They don't want another corporate job. And they hear everybody talking about doing consulting and fractional and interim. And I just want to go in and, be an operator somewhere for 2 years and do the turnaround and walk away. Sounds like heaven. And so they call everybody in their network, all their attorney friends and their business friends, and maybe they get a bite and they get, a project. You get to do a consulting project. Maybe it pays $5,000. Maybe it pays $50,000. And they think, oh yeah, I'm in. I can do this. And they get consumed in the project, and then the project ends, and then they have to go get another one. And so they start randomly posting stuff on LinkedIn and talking to people about talking to people. And somehow they find their way to me. And, really excellent operators. And they could serve dozens of businesses very, very well. But nobody knows who they are. And, nobody's emailing them, calling them, texting them, saying, hey, John, I need you to come fix the problems in my company because you're the guy. And it just doesn't go anywhere.
That's been the bane of the advisory consulting business forever.
Yep.
That the people who get a job assignment
Mm-hmm.
and they do it, and then they're back at square one, square zero.
Yep.
And then they got to go find another one, and then they're busy, and then it's off the cliff again.
Yeah, for the independent consultant, you bet.
Yeah.
And so, so what we've done is we've built a firm and a platform and a delivery model where we offer a consistent experience for our clients. That's one of the risks. If I hire John or if I hire Nick, I'm hiring the guy, and I don't really know what I'm getting other than John's supposed to be amazing at what he does and he could solve all my problems. With One Accord, I can tell you very clearly, this is how we approach an engagement. This is what we do. This is how we do it. This is what you can expect. And so a lot of those operator consultants they basically want me to hire them because they want to do the work that we obtain from the marketplace. And it's a factor of like 10 to 1. We might serve 20 clients this year. It doesn't take us a lot of new business to be a healthy company. In fact, I prefer to limit our engagements to, the right one. So let's say 20. There are 200 people that I could call right now to fill dozens of different roles in an engagement. Many, many people with extensive experience running P&L, running operations, running sales in retail and consumer packaged goods and business to business and consumer, and doing some amazing stuff. There's no shortage of talent right now.
Mm-hmm.
What there is a shortage of market demand awareness.
Is it awareness or demand? If they knew what the result would be.
Yeah, it's awareness. That, at least this is the story I'm telling myself. It's awareness. There are very few people who are aware of a solution like what we bring to the market. There are very few people who are acutely aware of the issues going on in their companies and a way to solve them. Huge marketing challenge for us. Huge marketing challenge, because I spend a lot of dollars and minutes and time explaining how we can help people solve problems. But listen, when someone becomes an entrepreneur, very rarely have they gone to business school. Actually, most of the time they're getting into business because there's a thing that they do that they love. They like building a thing. They like making a thing. They like doing a thing. But how to actually operate a company, we don't learn it in grade school, middle school, or high school. And unless someone is specific about their college education,
You don't really learn it.
no.
Even MBA, I got an MBA. Okay. You learn it usually from experience.
Yeah.
90+% of the time, you have to do it. You have to, you advance your way up until you have those skills.
Yep. That's it. And so the solution that we might bring to the marketplace that says to the owner of the company that has revenues to support hiring us. And so generally that doesn't occur until they're 25 million and up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we might be 600,000 a year to bring our solution in. They're not necessarily thinking, okay, well, I can solve a lot of these problems in my company if I hire that company and their people to come in and do these things that they've done and I don't know how to do, or I don't have capacity to do. The typical entrepreneur, which is me, right? I just think, well, I can do it, or I'm going to hire somebody to do it and I'm going to figure it out. Why would I outsource running my sales team? Or why would I outsource running my operations team? So here again, the solution is not widely known or understood.
And you're also competing with, do I put the money in a retirement plan or buy a boat or a second home or all of that?
My wife really deserves a Porsche. I'm telling you, she's wanted one for a long time, and I want to give it to her. Do do I just grind it out, or do I invest more in the business?
Yeah.
These are real questions. I've joked that sometimes the decision to hire us is the head of household making a choice between taking their family on a European vacation or going to Chelan for the weekend this year, because it's a real expense. And so we started this conversation on this whole, like, I don't know, popular notion of reducing owner dependence, and that's going to solve all the world's problems. But even to get to that place, there is an investment, there's an expense, there's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you have to have the right culture in place to do some of this stuff.
The culture. So if I'm looking at trying to step back from the business, my business has to have a culture that, say more about that, because I might be right in the middle of that myself.
Well, you have to have the culture that, it's whether it's called delegation or whatever it's called, that not only do you as if you're the CEO of that $25 million manufacturing business, and you're making good money and you're not ready to exit, but you don't want to be doing it full time, all in, you have, if it's delegation or whatever, you got to be willing to do it. You got to have people who are willing to be delegated to.
Yeah.
Instead of, this is my role and here are my blinders, and I don't want to do anything outside of my blinder vision.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have the culture that if Nick delegates to John, that Bob or Sue over here doesn't get all uppity and say, well, why didn't he delegate to me? John's just, kissing his butt.
Yeah.
To get more responsibility. So you have to build that culture around that.
Hello again, it's Nick Anderson. Thank you for tuning in to The Value Factory. I hope that you're getting value from this episode. Now listen, if your organization is facing a leadership gap, One Accord provides fractional and interim C-suite executives. Now these are men and women who deliver immediate clarity and measurable results. Our seasoned leaders integrate quickly into your team to drive strategic initiatives and maintain momentum without the long-term overhead of a full-time hire. To learn how One Accord can support your company today, click the link in the show notes or the bio to get connected with one of our senior leaders. Now back to the Value Factory. Back to this. We don't learn that in grade school, middle school, or high school.
No.
How to build a culture in an organization.
Boy, if they could teach it.
Yeah.
That's why there's all these team building coaches and leadership coaches, because most people can't. you know, they do it their way, and then you grow, and it's got to be more. And it's how do I grow? Isn't that the story in your latest article that you sent me?
Yeah.
Is that the owner reaches capacity,
That's
and
it.
sometimes it's the capacity of skills. Sometimes it's the capacity of I don't want to grow because I don't want any more risk.
Yeah.
I'm fine making $1 million a year. I've been making $1 million a year. It goes up by 5% a year.
Yep.
And I know the business has value, and I'm good with that.
Yep. Yeah. The owner bottleneck, the constraint, owner dependence, these all live in the same ethos. I spend a lot of time talking about reducing owner dependence. I
Yeah.
could spend just as much time talking about the uh, capitation of growth or the capacity restraint there. Uh, my case in point, and I have studied leadership. I have written books on leadership. I have delivered sermons on culture, John, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Still trying to figure people out.
You'll never get there.
No, yeah. There's no finish line to this.
Yeah.
People evolve, society changes, societal norms and rules, and all these things change. And maybe that some people can think that's really fun. Right now in this moment, I'm like, I just want something to stay the same tomorrow that it was yesterday. There's so much change in this world right now.
Yeah.
But nobody teaches us without being intentional how to do culture, how to build culture, how to delegate. My goodness. Delegation. I wrote a whole thing on this. My definition of delegation is the assignment of authority and responsibility in that specific order. If I just tell you what to do, then I'm a taskmaster. I'm a dictator. That's not delegation. If we think about delegation in the context of our electoral college and our delegates, we're giving someone our authority to vote on our behalf. They are our delegate. How does an entrepreneur, this is the rhetorical question I'll try to answer, but how does an entrepreneur get to a place where I can say, John, you can act with my authority. Your yes is my yes. I'm delegating you my authority. Now you have the responsibility to deliver a quality product on time and on budget with a happy client. That's your responsibility. But I'm giving you the authority to make all the decisions and to do everything that it takes to make all that happen. That's a monumental task.
And if we go back to some of the stuff we talked about before, do you just throw that at someone? Here's 100% of the project for you. You have authority to do it your way. Or do you say, let's start with you doing this 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, now you get another 20%. And at some point, yeah, you've got a client. You'll give us the weekly or monthly report just like everyone else, but it's yours.
Yep.
But you got to earn it.
Yep. One of the solutions that I like for this is to put someone in a role on a temporary basis. Ideally, someone who is already competent, somebody who knows what they're doing because they've done it before. I think about a company that's at the place where the owner needs to hand off the responsibility of sales. Somebody else needs to be responsible at the highest level for revenue in the company. Let's call him a chief revenue officer. At whatever level that is for the firm, if it's 5 million, 10 million, 30 million in sales, at some point the owner has to take that hat off. Promoting someone into a sales leadership role who has been a really good individual contributor seems like a commonly accepted like no, right? Not all good salespeople are good sales managers.
Not at all.
Right?
I had one once. Great guy, great
Yeah.
salesperson. Management wasn't his thing.
Yeah. Yep. Hello again, everybody. Nick Anderson, CEO of One Accord. And again, I hope you are getting value from today's episode. I want to tell you about One Accord's business enablement services. These are built to remove operational roadblocks and modernize the systems that are slowing your growth. Now, we work alongside you to turn internal complexity into operational clarity, ensuring that your business is fully prepared for its next chapter and future scale. To learn how One Accord can support your company today, the link in the show notes or our bio to get connected with one of our senior leaders. And now back to the show. So if I'm the entrepreneur and I'm trying to, take myself out of the company and I think sales is the way to go, how do I fill that role? How do I delegate that? And perhaps I start giving 20%, 40%, 60% to my top salesperson. Or alternatively, do I just hire somebody from the outside and put them in? That's a big risk. Making a full commitment to a hire is a big risk. So I really like the idea, the concept of like try before you buy and testing in different roles. And so maybe there's an internal candidate, top seller, high performing. And if I can just be really clear, John, you've done a great job in sales. I don't know if you're going to be a great sales manager, but I want to give you a shot. So we're going to do this for 6 months. And listen, if it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul. We'll have you focus on doing sales, right? And not leading. How are you going to take it at the end of 6 months if it's not a good fit?
Yeah. Well, it depends on if you have monthly or weekly or whatever check-ins and get a scorecard and they can see what's going on.
Yep.
Or you could do, I guess, the old corporate joke. You make the worst performer the manager so they can get donuts and yell at people.
I haven't heard of that one. That's good. Yeah. I like the idea of bringing somebody in that's been a sales manager before, it's been a leader before. And I can say to my team, here comes Bob. Bob is going to be with us on an interim basis. He's going to be with us for 9 months. And his job is to build our sales team structure. And what we're going to do is at the end of 9 months, I'm actually going to hire a full-time replacement for Bob. So everybody knows that Bob is just here to do that thing, to build it, start it, get it going. And then I, as the owner, I get to see what it's like to have a sales manager, and I get to learn what it's like. What are the things that Bob does that I really like? And what are the things that he does that I don't really like? And then is this a position that makes sense for us long-term?
So if you're going to get a Bob for 9 months, is Bob going to leave his current job to come for 9 months? Are you going to use a outsourced sales management firm?
That's it. Yep. That's exactly what that's what I would do.
Yeah. Or if you're replacing a sales manager.
Yep.
You're going to need to find someone that has experience, has experience as a sales manager. And are they coming from another company?
Yeah.
Is that company, is this a growth step for them? Is it just you're a $25 million company, they're coming from a $10 to $12 million company and they want the challenge? Or are they coming from the company that the owners hit the ceiling and they're going and banging my head against a wall and he or she won't do anything?
Yeah.
Whether it's just coasting because they're happy or they just can't grow.
Yeah. So if I've got the resource here again, if I've got a business that is cash flow positive to a degree where I could make a commitment to spend $300,000 to contract with Bob, the sales manager, for 9 months or a year, to build out a sales team and help me hire and create the sales quotas and the go-to-market strategy and all of the incentive plans and do all of these things because this is what Bob does. And for him, it's easy. I do that 10 out of 10 times if I had the resources to do it. If I'm a $15 million business and I've got a 5% bottom line, so I'm making good money, I'm making 750 grand a year, I'm not going to spend 300 of that 750 to go hire an interim sales leader. I got to figure something else out.
Now, if you're making 15%,
sure, yeah,
and you think you should be making 20 on higher revenue,
yeah, yep, then that becomes a no-brainer equation. If I think that if I'm the capacity, if I'm the owner and the company can't grow past me, and one of the things I need to do is bring in more effective sales leadership, and if I spend 300 and that nets me 600, I should do that 10 out of 10 times.
Other than maybe your spouse saying, I want that big European vacation for the whole family and a Porsche.
Yeah.
This year,
yep.
Not next.
Yep. These are the challenges that we face. It's, I love the fact, okay, so my oldest daughter, really got into economics I think it was her freshman year in college. It was micro and then macro.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it's been a while for me. She just ate up the notions of opportunity cost and trade-offs and these economic, and that's what it is. It's opportunity cost and it's trade-offs.
Yeah.
So, honey, I'm going to make an investment in the business this year. So next year we're going to get matching Porsches, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, that is.
But these trade-offs are real. And my youngest daughter, we just traveled across the country and went and visited colleges, and she found, I think, she was accepted into like 6 schools, and landed on the one. And college tuition's a real thing.
Darn right it is.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And so there are economic trade-offs that have to be made. And investing in the business, this is the life. This is the life.
Well, then, Nick, we tie this whole thing to exiting.
Yep.
And buyers are always wondering about the culture in the business and who are the people and what's it like, and is it why, if it's a dictatorship, why are they staying?
Yeah, because I won't let them leave.
Yeah, it's the old A people hire A people, B people hire C people, and Donald Rumsfeld added something to that, and I can't remember what it is right now. But
hey, everybody, Nick Anderson again. I hope that you are getting value from this episode of The Value Factory. Thanks for listening in. Now listen, to build a high-performing organization, you must have a talent strategy, a strategy that attracts and retains the right leaders for your culture. Now at One Accord, we help you reduce turnover and align your team's capabilities with your long-term growth goals to ensure that your vision is carried forward effectively. To learn how One Accord can support your company today, click the link in the show notes or our bio and get connected to one of our senior leaders. Now back to the show. Rumsfeld liked to say a lot of confusing things.
Yeah.
The known knowns and the known unknowns. And
yeah. But that's what it comes down to. And, and then, look, how do you tell? Well, in a tough economy, it's a lot harder to say, oh, people don't like their job. They're, because they're not leaving, because they may worry about getting another job. Other times you may look and say, well, why are we have a, 20-person non-labor team managed from upper, middle, lower management, and we're turning over 2 or 3 a year. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the culture having them leave at such a pace?
And the reason this is important to a buyer is that the buyer is endeavoring to buy durable revenue. They want future cash flows that if 20%, 30%, 50% of the team turns over, that's not going to be accretive to revenue growth. Culture matters. Culture really matters. Yeah. So we've got an owner of a company that's hearing from people, they're hearing from consultants, they're hearing from guys like me that promise the world that we can solve all your problems. You can be an absentee owner, right? And then they go back to their office or they go back to their computer and they realize the weight of everything they're trying to accomplish, and it's like there's just no way. That's fantasy. They read the book Traction and they think we're going to start having level 10 meetings and we're going to get our stuff in order. But then real life settles in and they've got client complaints and employee issues and subcontractor problems. And
that's right. They go, like you were saying, they go back to their office, but then it's 50 emails, 2 employees with issues, a customer's call going, hey, what about this?
Yeah. Yep. It's the life I'm in, man, right now. It's precisely the life that I'm living. And so I have so much empathy for the people like me that honor us with the opportunity to serve their companies.
Mm-hmm.
And what I know for sure is that if I hadn't started 2 years ago, the things that I started then, 2 years from today, like I wouldn't be where I need to be. It takes the point there is that it takes years to develop the culture, to develop the people, to develop the systems that allow for these things like owner independence, reducing key person risk, having a healthy culture that sustains employment, that attracts A players. These things don't just happen overnight.
And it's all the way from the lowest person in the shop in say a manufacturing business to the operations manager, sales manager, and everyone else at the upper levels. And I can remember years ago talking to an owner, I think it was down in Portland area, and he's bragging about how little he can get away with paying his people. Of course, he had very high rates of turnover and absenteeism.
Yeah.
He couldn't put the two together.
I saw that in some banks that I worked for. I mean, that's the 25 years of my life was working in banks. And some were far more cost conscious when it came to employee compensation. And I get it. You know, these are companies employing thousands of people. And so when you multiply $1.50 an hour across hundreds of people times 2,000 hours a year, gets to be real money. But it just blew me away that somebody could work at our company. They go across the street, work for a competitor and make $20,000 a year more. They're there for 2 years. And then we want to hire them back for another $20,000 a year more. So it was 40,000, the delta. And it was just a known thing in the industry. You make money by, you get raises by going to work for somebody else. And all of the time and energy that these companies would invest in training people just to see them go over, you know, some nominal amount in compensation.
Or you get the bankers who leave because the bank hits a point and they, we're a certain size now. We got to be a little more conservative.
We can't do the same deals that we did.
Can't do, we can't lend the same money you were lending 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, but your compensation is based on how much money you lend.
That becomes really difficult. So then a business that isn't growing is going to have a more difficult time attracting that A talent. If we have been stagnant, investors are not going to want to invest in us. Acquirers are not going to want to buy us. And A players are not going to want to come work for us.
And A customers don't want to work with you.
Great point. Yeah. So growth is actually a means to survival, isn't it? Yeah.
In your banking thing, banks can tell without quote unquote telling certain customers they don't want them. Yeah. Well, we're going to look at this a little differently, and we can lend you 3/4 of X, not X, at this rate, and etc. Or, we just, we make it very hard for you to borrow from us under a certain amount of money.
Yeah, it's so difficult for the banks it's really a tight line. There might be an industry segment, there might be a geographic kind of concentration, like maybe we've got too much money in loans in the Northeast, and like there are a lot of reasons why the frontline bankers don't understand the decisions that are coming down from above,
or the bank tells, and that's the culture difference, right?
Yeah,
because a couple of years ago, KeyBank, and we've got some good friends at KeyBank. They were not lending in anything construction because they said our construction bucket is full.
Yep,
we can't take any more now. We may take more in 6 months, but right now we can't.
Yeah,
and that's openness. You know where you're playing, so the bankers aren't going to go after construction deals.
Yeah, and that is, that transparency is very helpful. For the construction lenders, it's tough. They might be looking for another bank where they can go do their thing, or there's clarity and there's a pathway to a future, maybe next year when we reallocate some capital or do some things. Interesting conversation today, John.
Very interesting.
Starting from that place of owner dependence, but covering culture.
Culture can be a dependency.
Yeah.
Everything we've talked about is a dependency today. Key employees, culture. We didn't even get into customer dependency.
Yeah. Oh boy. We're talking to, I'll tell you, I use the example of our client, Bob, and I call all of our clients Bob for anonymity. But Bob starts a machine shop near a Boeing plant, and has a great run for 20-25 years machining parts for Boeing. And from time to time, he'll take on a job or do something else for another client. Maybe he started doing some work for SpaceX a couple of years ago, but Boeing is still 60% of his sales, 80% of his sales. And Bob is now 65. His kids don't want the business. His grandkids are growing up. He wants to spend more time at his place in Palm Springs and on the golf course at Broadmoor. So he wants to sell. But all these things that we just talked about, starting with 85% of his sales, 60% of his sales come from Boeing. He doesn't have a number two that can step in and be CEO of the company.
That's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
I'm going to say on the first one, if it was like we're selling 60% of our stuff to company X, it's different. Aerospace people, they understand. We have a company that is all Boeing. Mm-hmm. It's not to Boeing, it's to tier one and they may go to MROs or airlines, but a lot of it just goes to Boeing new planes.
Yeah.
Aerospace people know that. They don't care.
Yep.
In fact, one of their customers is 30%. It's a tier one, 30%. And the guy goes, one of the family office we're talking to says, that's nothing in aerospace.
Yeah.
But if it was, I'm just drawing the line on some
Yeah, it's a good
industries,
point.
people don't care.
Good point.
But,
Yeah.
just if you're just making widgets and 60, 80% go to one manufacturer, a Precor, which had a factory here
Mm-hmm.
and then moved it. And if you're selling to Precor and you say, hey, shipping cross country to Precor is too expensive, they're going to buy it in North Carolina or wherever.
And, that point also remains with Boeing. They've relocated some of their manufacturing facilities, and
Yeah.
maybe not as dramatic because they still have a presence here.
No, but they have a huge presence here.
Yeah. Nevertheless, you've got customer concentration, you've got owner dependence, you've got, I don't know what the culture is in Bob's machine shop. Presumably it's great because everybody loves Bob. He's a really happy-go-lucky, jolly, honest guy. What happens when he's gone? Is he the glue to the culture?
When you talk about culture in that kind of business, right before COVID, we sold the business. We ended up selling to the general manager. But a number of years before that, I worked for the owner, and he wanted to buy another company. He needed capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And the deal never happened. Here's why the deal didn't happen. He sent them a job as a test to see how they did.
Yep.
And let's just say he needed it by the end of business on Tuesday because they had to ship it on Wednesday. And he says, we ship on time. He goes on Tuesday, where's the order? We didn't get to it. Well, what do you mean you didn't get to it? No, our guys come in at 7:30. They leave at 4. We'll get to it tomorrow. And he went and got his materials, paid overtime to have his people work late, shipped it on time.
Yeah.
That culture of that first business wasn't very good. It wasn't customer centric. It was lifestyle centric.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And great example, because I opened with a friendly, nice culture, but that isn't necessarily that's not the end all be all of culture. Culture is how do we serve clients? How do we deliver? Yes. Yeah. Good exploration in the conversation today. How do we put a bow on this one, John? What's a takeaway or a lesson here that somebody listening, because I think we've just put out there some ideas, some big question marks, or even just shared, okay, that's the reality of things, but like, what do we do about that?
Well, you realize it's a process.
Mm.
You don't try to do it all at once, and that there are more, as we talked about dependencies, are more dependencies than just you see on the surface. And you could have little dependencies in in a department.
Yep.
And the things I read about, and they say, well, often people don't leave the company as much as they leave their management. Not management up here. They don't leave Starbucks because of the new CEO. They may leave Starbucks because their senior VP is a jerk.
Yeah.
And Starbucks being Bob, any big company.
Yep. Yeah. Real good. 2 takeaways I've got from you. You got to look under the hood in the closet, look around the corner, see what's there. And number 2, start now because it takes a while.
And if you're thinking of exiting, you better understand every buyer's going to want to look under the hood and in the closet, and you can't lock the doors.
Yeah.
Or you won't sell it.
Good point. John, I love hanging out with you in the Value Factory, just talking shop. Hopefully folks that are listening here, I'm going to say, hopefully somebody heard their own story in this. And then at the end kind of takes away, okay, it's time for me to look. It's time for me to look under the hood and take some time to invest in shoring up some of these things.
Yeah, and whether they call you or they call me, I always say, I tell people, I'll give them one of my books or something, and I'll say, I would sooner have an educated person who doesn't hire us than an uneducated that hires us, because that's going to make both our lives miserable.
Agreed.
So it was
Good stuff.
great.
Yep. Thanks, John.
You're welcome.